All right, so today we're going to be reviewing powers of 10 with multiplication and division. We're reviewing that because it leads up to metric conversions. Before we left, we did customary conversions, but metric conversions all has to do with the powers of 10, whether it's dividing by 10, 100, or 1,000, or multiplying by it. So I want to give you guys a quick review about how to do this mentally. So you shouldn't have to write out the whole multiplication problem. If you're struggling, then I would do that, but it's just going to take a lot longer than if you just follow these steps. So here it says, how do you do this mentally? So this is 40 times 7,000. So what you really want to look at is what's the basic fact here first. So the basic fact is 4 times 7. So 4 times 7 is 28. So that's what goes at the front of it. Then you're going to count the number of zeros in each factor. So there's 1 0 here, and there's 3 zeros here. So we have a total of 4 zeros. So then we have 28, because that's 4 times 7 is 28. So that goes in the front. And then we have 4 zeros on the ends. And then we put in our comma. So we've got 1, 2, 3, comma. So we have 280,000. That would be our answer for 40 times 7,000. So I don't think that there's any exponents on the Google Forms. But just to review it, if you see it or things like that, this is 10 to the third power, so that means there's 3 zeros. So what that one is it's 8 times 1,000, because it means there's 3 zeros. So 8 times 1,000, you're finding the basic fact. The basic fact is 8 times 1, which would be 8, and then you add the 3 zeros at the end. So this answer would be 8,000. With the 3 zeros on the end. So number 8, basic fact is 9 times 5. 9 times 5 is 45. Then how many total zeros do we have? We just have 1. Okay, so dividing with powers of 10 now. You want to cross out the same number of zeros in the dividend and the divisor to make your division easier. So here's our problem. We have 900 divided by 30. So the zeros cancel each other out. So this zero, there's 1 0 here and there's 2 zeros here. So this 0 cancels this 0 out. 1 for 1. That's really what it says. So I'm crossing 1 here out on this side, so I'm crossing 1 out on this side. So now I'm left with 90 divided by 3. So 9 divided by 3 equals 3, and then I've got 1 0 left to put on the end. All right, so a couple examples. This one, we have 140 divided by 7. So there is no zeros to cancel out because 7 doesn't have a 0. So the 0 just gets added to the end from the 1. And then we have 14 divided by 7, which would be 2. So that one's going to be 20. Here, there's no 0 with the 9, so I don't have any zeros to cancel out, so I end up having 45 divided by 9 is 5. And we just add the 0 to the end. Okay, so down here with number 8. So number 8 is 180 divided by 60. There's a 0 here and there's a 0 here. So the zeros cancel each other out first. So take those zeros away to make it a lot easier for yourself. So now we have 18 divided by 6. The answer is 3. This one here, we've got this 0 here and this 0 here. Those zeros cancel each other out. So then we just have 24 divided by 3 is 8. So this one down here, last one I'm going to show you, this 0, we've got 1 0 here, we have 2 zeros here. So we only are crossing off 1 0 because that's what they have that is the same. So now we have 18 divided by 3 is 6. And we look, how many zeros do we have left over? We have this 1 0 left over, so our answer is 60. Okay, so moving on to multiplying with the powers of 10 with decimals. I showed you guys already with whole numbers, but I want to show you with decimals too. I don't think it's on this Google Forms, but you will see it when we get to the metric system. So it's important to understand it. And we talked about it a little bit on the Common Core checks, so you might have a little bit of an idea. So up here it says, to multiply a decimal by the powers of 10, move the decimal point to the right the same number of zeros in the powers of 10. This is also the same number as the exponent on the 10. So you're moving it to the right. What you're doing when you're moving something to the right is you're actually making it bigger by place values. So here they showed you one way. This is 24 and 7/10 times 10 to the second power. So one way is you could always multiply. It just takes a lot longer to do the multiplication. But this is how you would do it if you were regularly multiplying. Another way that you can do it is you multiply a decimal by 100. You're moving the decimal place 2 place values to the right because it's 100, so there's 2 zeros. You're going to move this 2 decimal places over. And annex the 0 means you just add a 0 to the end because you can always add zeros to the end. So then your answer is going to be 2,470. So let me show you on a couple of these. So for this one, it's 54 hundredths times 10. So there's only 1 0. So I'm going to take this decimal point here, and I'm going to move it 1 place value over to the right. So it's going to go right between the 5 and the 4. So my answer for that one is going to be 5 4/10. Here, this one's by 100, so I've got 2 zeros, so that means I have to move this decimal point 2 place values to the right. So I go 1, 2, so it ends up right on the outside of the 2. So this would be, the answer would then be 832. So what you're actually doing is the 8 goes from the 1's place to the 100's place, so it's moving 2 place values. This one, we've got 3 zeros, which means we're moving the decimal point 3 place values. So let me show you over here. So I had 7 4/4600, so I'm going to move it over 3 place values because there's 3 zeros. You can always add a 0 here. And it's going to be right here. So my answer for this one is now 7,460. Last thing I want to show you guys is dividing decimals with powers of 10. So this will be on the Google Forms today, which is good because then you're going to move into it with the metric system, like I keep saying. But so here's 2 different ways to do dividing by powers of 10. This is divided by 10 to the second power, which also equals 100. So they showed you how to actually do the division. So 1 times 100 is 100, so that you then subtract it, bring down the 5, that's 900, bring the 9 up there. You subtract it and you get 50, or you get 5. And when you're doing decimals, you can't just leave it as 5. You add another 0 until you end up with no more remainders. So you could do it that way, or you could do it more of mental math way. And it says right here, dividing a decimal by 100 moves the decimal point to the 2 places, because there's 2 zeros, to the left. So you're actually making your number smaller by 2 place values because you're dividing it by 100. So you're not changing any numbers because everything divided by 1 is itself. You're just changing the place values, positions. So here they showed you 100 or 190 and 5/10 divided by 100. They're going to take that decimal point, go 1, 2, and jump it 2 place values backwards. So then you end up with 1 and 905 thousandths. So the 1 goes from the hundredths place, moves all the way to the ones place. So you're moving 2 place values backwards. So I just previously went over multiplying. Multiplying, you move to the right. Dividing, you move to the left. So it gets smaller. You can always write that down for yourself somewhere to help you remember. So this one here, 7 and 2/10 divided by 10. You actually are going to have 1 0 here, 1 0 here. So you're moving that decimal place value back to the left, 1 place value back. So you end up with 72 hundredths. This one here, you've got 10 to the second power, so that means it's the same thing as 100. So you're going to move this one back 2 spots because there's 2 zeros. So 2, 1, 2. So this one you're going to end up with 0, 215 thousandths. So the 2 moves from the tens to the tenths, the THS on the end. So then this one here is 10 to the third power, so that means it's divided by 1,000. Okay, so I wrote it bigger so I could show you guys. So this you might come up with this problem. Okay, I only have 2 numbers to move it backwards. So to move it to the left, So if I move it over 2, that's only divided by 100, but we want to divide it by 1,000. So we can always add zeros over here. So you add a 0 and you go 1, 2, 3. So your answer for that one would be okay, again, let me know if you have any questions. Please reach out. I hope that you guys watch both of these videos. I know some of you guys think you might have got it, but it's just a good review. Have a good day.